Elon Musk was being interviewed. Elon Musk, obviously, as a billionaire, business person, philanthropist, owner of Twitter. As of the last 6 months or so, I think is when it all kind of closed, when he became the new owner of Twitter, and has certainly not done that lightly or behind the scenes. He has been very upfront, very wild in some of his moves, and it's brought a lot of people back to the platform, like myself, and also drove a lot of people away, whether that was
you said NPR today?
This week, NPR and PBS. PBS added on to NPR because they got labeled as a government-owned, partially government-owned media.
Well, they are.
Well, I mean, you could say
National
they got
Public
funding.
Radio.
You could say they certainly get funding. They got offended about it, saying, well, they're journalistically independent. He does a lot of these things to needle people, though, because he is a free speech advocate.
He is.
He is someone who's out there. It is nice to have somebody, especially the richest person in the world.
NPR, and I listen, there's some NPR programs I listen to, and here's the thing I don't understand. NPR is barely hanging in there as it is. Yeah. They're down 30%. So now let's go off of Twitter. That's like it's self-inflicting a wound.
I think it is funny how many people are still who cannot leave. They hate it so much that Elon is running this. They can't sell their Tesla and they can't leave Twitter. Like they're so addicted that when it got bad and I couldn't take it anymore, I left Twitter. I was off Twitter for years.
Right.
Now I'm back on it. Why? It's a lot more fun. And here's why. This is a conversation between Elon Musk and host of the BBC, correct? Correct. Yeah, so this is just about free speech and what it means and what hate speech is and how that can be effective on Twitter. So let's take a listen.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
I think the issue some people have is that a lot of people were brought back. I mean, some people were brought back who were previously banned for spreading things like QAnon conspiracies. You have people like Andrew Tate who were brought back, who were previously banned for things like hate speech. Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
Well, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
And you're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you are the arbiter on Twitter because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information?
All right, the conversation keeps going. It's not just a conversation of misinformation. It seems a bit, a little back and forth. And this is where things get a bit more hasty. They start talking about there's a new feature on Twitter called For You. And what it is, it's more like a discover feature. It gives you people that you follow, but also people that you may find interesting. It kind of takes your likes. And, like for me, if it's Monday night, I'm getting a lot of pro wrestling content on there on my For You, if I'm being honest. And this conversation goes to, this host kind of puts, maybe you're putting hate speech forward on this For You feature. So when you hear that, I just wanted you to know what that is, like a separate feed you have. So take a listen. This is where things get interesting.
I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, my For You, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally. But I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
The conversation keeps going. It gets to the point where he goes, well, tell me what you've seen. Have you seen anything that you feel? I mean, you say you experienced all this. What is it? So keep listening.
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean, right, and
Literally
if you look
can't
at
name
something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
Look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
Well, then how would you know?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
First of all, this was like an Oxford Socratic method debate.
Yes.
And
It's supposed to be an
Musk
interview.
eviscerates the BBC broadcaster because you know what happens? They make these global statements, these big pronouncements. There's this, and this, and that results in this. Well, what exactly did you see? That I don't know.
Right.
This was like, you can make it like the old comedian Jackie Mason, the late Jackie Mason. They go through the whole thing and said, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, pretty honestly, it's not a hard thing to figure out. Have you seen things that are bad, negative, hateful on Twitter? Oh, yeah. So then come in there with some facts. Come in there knowing that this guy is going to do this to you. They treat him, find it very interesting with Elon. They treat him like he's an idiot, like he's a buffoon.
And he's a genius.
And he's a billionaire,
Genius.
the richest person in the world, not for no reason. And a genius. Yes, he obviously, look, there are things that he does that I like. There are things that he does that I don't like, just like everybody else. But they treat him, and it's very interesting to me to see how they do that. Because he is a bit more comedic. Yeah. He's a bit more satirical. He'll say things that are inappropriate.
Right.
Will post things that are inappropriate. They don't treat him with the respect he gets. And when this sort of thing happens, I mean, that wasn't supposed to even be a conversation. It was supposed to be an interview. And it ended up being, like you said, it felt like an interrogation on the other side.
It is the old debate method that we grew up with, that we've been, Andy and I have worked at Oxford, the University of Oxford, and several of the colleges over the years have done programs there, have done events there. And what's so interesting to me is it's like they get up. I've had lawyers do this. They get up, they make these grandiose statements. The judge says, and the facts supporting that are, I have no idea. I mean, that's, where are the facts for that? I don't know.
No, but I can philosophize on it, and I can send it out, and I can propagate it. But if you ask me for facts, then I'm resting my entire argument on sand, which is resting in terms on more sand, so it doesn't get anywhere. But I got to give Musk something for revitalizing Twitter and doing things that makes it quite a platform. As a matter of fact, a young lawyer told me that she was off of Twitter. She went back on. She enjoyed it so much, she said, that she gave it up for Lent. Because she said it was just too much for her
Has it come
to
back,
enjoy.
Logan?
I don't know. I don't know what the numbers actually say. You had a large group of people that did leave, and you have companies leaving like NPR. But you have a large surge of people. I'd say I find it a much more enjoyable experience than I did 3 or 4 years ago.
I bet they're back. I bet they come back. Yep.
Yeah, it's hard for people to get off of these platforms. It really is. And as long as the content's still there, but he does things to troll people. I mean, he turned the Twitter logo to the Doge dog for multiple days. He's changing a lot of things just to get a rise out of people, which is hilarious.
So you should follow us on Twitter.
Because at the end of the day, it's a social media platform, and who really cares? But he does, and was forced to buy it and is having some fun with it.